Today, I'm starting my build of the USS Enterprise 1701C. This is 1/1400 scale, and it's a re-release of the classic AMT kit, probably one of the best Trek kits that was put out in the 90s. All right, now for 2022, the model kit is being released in this wonderful translucent white plastic. And the reason why is because this is a lot easier to work with. The old clear kits, clear plastic can actually be very brittle and prone to cracking. So the translucent white, a lot more durable and easy to work with, and still really easy to light. You can see the light shines through this very easily, so that you're going to be able to just mask off the windows from the inside, light block it from the outside, and then you scratch away the paint from the outside to light the windows. That's what we did when we built the USS Voyager 1/1000th translucent white kit, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So a lot of prep work to get things started. You have to mask off the inside so that the banks of windows can be lit. So as you can see here on the main hull, I've laid down a lot of tape so that the light blocking won't interfere with the windows. We'll just have to light block the entirety of the nacelles. And I've gone ahead on the saucers, laid down a lot of tape on the inside to make sure those banks of windows won't be affected by my light blocking paint. So the first step for this model build is going to be light blocking the ship from the inside with a lot of black paint. And then once we have it light blocked, we're going to put white paint all around the inside so it's really bright, glossy, and that's really going to help us diffuse our lights and get the lights bright enough to shine through the plastic. So to get to here, where we've light blocked the inside of the ship, except for where our windows are, has been a several day project. Quite a bit of painting black and then extra layers to make sure no light is getting through. And then tons of just super light layers of white to cover up that black. And you can see there's still a little bit of blotchiness in it, but overall we have gotten the inside of the ship to a nice glossy white, and that will really help disperse the light within. So what I thought I'd do in this video, since we've done a lot of model building and painting, is I'd show once again just how I'm doing the electronics to light up the inside of the ship. My lighting is super simple. I buy LED strips, LED tape that runs on 12 volts. So no worrying about resistors, no soldering lots of components together, no circuit boards or chips. And I buy pre-wired 12 volt LEDs. So you can see that resistor is already put on the LED. No math to calculate ohms and voltage, just everything here is 12 volt. We'll connect it all to a 12 volt circuit in parallel, and it's just going to work. So all we have to do on a pre-wired LED is get the black lead to a negative power source, the red to the positive power source, make sure it's all 12 volts, and we're in business. LED tape's going to work exactly the same way. You can see there are little contacts there labeled positive and negative. We're going to put a red wire to all the positives. We're going to do a black wire to the negative. Connect all the reds, connect all the blacks, hook it to a power source, and we're in business. And the way these strips work is they're all in parallel here. So as long as we connect a positive to one of these copper pads, the entire strip is going to light up. As long as we get a negative to one of the copper strips, the entire thing will light up. You can get this on Amazon just in a giant roll. The supplies I usually get enough to do 3 or 4 ships at once. A roll like this, it used to be about $20. Now I think it's closer to $30, but you can really get plenty of LEDs to do 3 or 4 ships to help kind of spread out that cost. I buy a big spool of wire to connect everything together. And the pre-wired LEDs come in a bag like this. You can usually get like 20 of them for $5 or $6 and use them in all sorts of different projects. So very economical to buy these pre-wired parts. So I buy my wire in bulk, I buy my LED strips in bulk, I buy my pre-wired LEDs in bulk. The one thing I have to buy kind of individually each time is a 12 volt power adapter And the ones I buy come with this wonderful little connection that just lets you unscrew it a little bit, put the negative and positive wires in there, and then I can put this in the base of my model. And then the power connection is just a barrel type connector that fits in like this. So this usually runs about $11 per model. The other parts I probably spend about $70 and spread it out over 4 models or so. So really I'm spending maybe $26 per model to light it, which is not a bad cost to light a model. I also get heat shrink tubing in bulk. I have a heat gun and a soldering iron. Those are really the only specialized tools I have to do this electronic and lighting work. All right, let's get to work on this electronics. I have cut a piece of LED strip the length of my nacelle, and this is going to light up those blue grills. What I also need is an LED that's going to shine forward to that red dome at the front of the nacelle. So for that, I have just my pre-wired LED. I'm going to connect this to some of those copper pads, and I'm going to try and position it right about here to shine into that nacelle. And then I have to do a wire off of this LED strip that I can run down into the body of the ship to our power source. All right, when you're soldering, you always want to heat up the connection first. I get the copper contact very hot. I put my solder on the copper contact. It spreads out nicely. All right, that's the solder that we need on the LED strip. Then I'm going to add a little bit of solder to the wire ends of my LED. Once again, I'm going to heat up the wire, touch it to the solder, heat the wire, touch the wire to the solder. I make sure I'm connecting my red to the copper contact that was labeled positive. Just touch them together and get them a little bit hot. Okay. And make sure I do the same thing with the black. All right, and now our forward-facing LED is connected to the strip. Next, I'm going to get a length of wire I'm going to run from the nacelle down into the main body of the ship. And we're going to solder this next wire onto it exactly the same way. Heat up the contact. Add the solder. Add a little bit of solder to our wire. I want to cover my connections with a little bit of heat shrink tubing, so I'm just going to cut a little bit off. Put it right over those connections. Now we're just going to use our heat gun. And that's our completed electronic work for the nacelles. For my saucer lighting, I've done exactly the same thing. I've soldered on wires to our LED strip. But this one, first I'm going to fold it back upon itself a little bit. And I'm going to use some heat shrink tubing to hold this in a circle. We will glue this in place in the lower saucer, just like this. The LEDs I folded in to the inside will light up the center section. All the other ones will light outward to light up the rest of the saucer. And the wires, we're going to feed through the neck into the main part of the ship. All right, we have connected our LED strip to the top of the nacelle. I have done my front dome in a clear red and our warp grills in a clear blue. All right, now it's time to diffuse our LEDs. So we don't really want hot spots. We don't want to be able to look through and see the LED bulbs. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of polyfill that I'm going to put on into the front end cap and put my LED in the very center of it. All right, to diffuse the LED strip for the blue grills, I have a little bit of packing material I'm going to roll up and put in the middle of the nacelle, just like that. I've drilled a hole into the bottom of the nacelle for our wires, and I'm going to close the whole thing up. Here's our closed up nacelle, our closed up saucer, and they each have power wires coming out. Now, as we're just kind of experimenting right now to see how things look, we're just going to do a real simple job joining these up. Once again, we connect our black wires together. We're going to connect our red wires together. And when we actually do this for real to close up the ship, we will solder these, we will heat shrink these, we'll get them into one connection and run that one connection down into the dome stand. But right now, we're just going to get this set up so that we can see what it looks like. All right, now we're going to connect our wires to our power adapter. And one of these is labeled positive, one of these is negative. So the positive is just going to go right in here. Our black wires are going to go into the negative section. And this will be my first time seeing these lit up. All right, well, it's bright. All right, I'm happy with the light blocking. The light blocking looks like it's doing really well. We are getting light all the way through to the rims. Yeah, this is going to work pretty darn well. We will light block from the outside, then just like on the Voyager, we will scrape away the windows to let the light shine through. In real life, there's not quite the disparity between the brightness here and the brightness here. They're more even in real life. I will have to kind of look at that to see if I can make it look a little bit more even. But yeah, that is lighting up. See, we're even getting light around the rim of the saucer. And my warp nacelle. That looks pretty good. I like the diffusing for that red end cap a lot. I'll have to do a little bit more, maybe some more layers of blue paint on the blue grills. But that's going to be the electronics we use. Yeah, I think maybe some more diffusing material inside to dull it down a little bit. But overall, I'm happy with our electronics. I think we've got a good working plan. I will have to think about what I can do to even this out. But I think we're on our way. The only lighting I haven't covered is the lighting for the engineering hull of the ship. And I'm really thinking I'm just going to do a piece of LED tape like this right there to light up this entire section. Maybe I'll do another one across the top to shine down, but we won't need much to light up this hull. Well, I've made 2 revisions to my lighting. So you can see we have better and more even glow for our nacelles. And what I did for that is I moved my diffusing material from being right over the LEDs a little further away from the LEDs, and I put it on the inside of the clear blue plastic parts. I've also airbrushed that with clear blue on the top and on those diffusing layers, and I think that is working out much better. You can also see I'm getting much better light all the way around the edges of the saucer. Still some brighter lights right where my LED strips are. And of course the bottom part is glowing very well. Now what I did is, instead of having the LED strips down at the bottom of the saucer, I moved it and glued it to the top saucer. That gave it a better direction on the saucer edge lights. And I think that's what we're gonna go with. Yeah, it is still kind of bright right here, right where those LEDs are. But I think once we light block from the outside, it won't be nearly as noticeable. So that's where we're gonna go on the lighting. The only change I plan on making is it seems that this wire will be too thick. So I'm going to switch it to a magnet wire, which will be much thinner to get through the pylons of the Enterprise C. All right, we've gone ahead and we have changed our wiring to magnet wire, which is much, much thinner and easier to put between the two halves of the pylons. I have put one hole in this is actually the top piece of the pylon structure. And we're going to put our wires through that. Now, magnet wire is very thin. You can break it if you get too many crimps in it. So we do want to be careful. Make sure we don't kink it or bend it too much. All right, now we're just going to place that into the nacelles. Make sure our wiring is coming out the right side, just like that. And make sure it's pulled through pretty nicely. Now, we're going to take the bottom half and just put that around all the wires and top half of the pylons. Make sure to insert it into the nacelles themselves. And there we go. We've got the wires run through the pylons. That is so much easier than the Enterprise E, where you have to carve trenches. Obviously, better than Enterprise D, where they don't even come in two halves and you have to like trench the outside of the nacelle and then cover it up. That is nice, quick, and easy to get the wires from the nacelles into the model. All right, to those magnet wires we had protruding out, I have gone ahead and added 3 more wires in a bundle. This LED strip that you can see in the picture right now, that will actually be for our engineering hole along the bottom there to light the entire thing up. Then one of these strands is going to go up the neck of the ship to the saucer, and this one will go out the bottom of the ship to our stand and power connector. And I'm not going to do this on camera because I have a couple other parts to add. I have to add the actual connector for the stand. I have to add the part that holds our impulse engine and the deflector dish. But it's going to be pretty easy. We're just going to start by putting 1/2 on, like that. Then we're going to make sure our shrink wrap tubing for all those connections fits in it just like this. Luckily, there's no windows back there, so we don't have to worry about that wire bundle blocking anything. And then we're just going to take our other half of the engineering hole and close it up like that. So you can see we're gonna have a lot of just empty room there, so the lights for that engineering hole are really gonna be able to shine. And that big bundle of wires is stuck in the back, right back here, where there's no windows to worry about. I'm gonna do all of that off camera. You can see once I do that, it'll be easy enough to feed a wire down through the stand hole and one up here to the saucer. And then we'll have most of the wiring and lighting for this ship done. All right, I've gone ahead and I've closed up the nacelles and the engineering hull. That wire from the engineering hull that was coming up the neck, that's now through the bottom of the saucer, and I joined it to the lights in the top of the saucer. Look at the top of the saucer. If you remember, this row of lights was too bright, so I've sprayed some white paint across it. Hopefully that will dim these a little bit and make them more even with these windows that are further from the LEDs. Now all there really is to do is close up the saucer, and we'll take a look at the ship now that the building is completed before we do any of the finishing work. All right, construction is complete on my Enterprise C. Some of the last parts I had to install were phaser strips. There's a phaser strip that gets added to the bottom of the engineering section here. And it's hard to see on the translucent white, but there are phaser strips here on the bottom of the pylons. We also had a clear red part that we added right here for the impulse engines. And let's turn it on. Let's see it lit up now that the ship is complete and sealed. All right, very nice. The translucent clear really does a great job letting that light shine through. There is our nice blue, and it looks a little teal. It's really a blue in real life. There are our Bassard collectors, our deflector dish, and of course you can see all the areas that are going to become windows are very well lit across the edge of the saucer, across the engineering hull, the lower saucer. And I really can't wait to get those windows to be more refined. I am really excited to get to the end of this build. The entire point of lighting the ship this way is really the satisfaction of that almost final step where we have the entire ship painted in its base colors and you can't see any of the light coming through the saucer anymore, and you start scraping away just so you get little windows fully lit up. Not kind of these big bulky blocks I have right now, but real windows showing through on it. And that is still a ways away. We have to light block all of this so there's no light shining through the hull. We have to paint it with its base color. We have to do the multiple blues. We have to paint the phasers. We have to paint the lifeboats. There's a lot of those. And then we'll be able to scrape away the paint and reveal the lit windows for a final time right before we decal. So there's still a lot of work to be done on this ship. I kind of hate leaving the video like this where the ship is still incomplete and a little bit ugly kind of in its unfinished form. So stick with me. In the next video, we will paint the ship. We will reveal those windows by scraping away the paint. We will decal it. And the next video about the Enterprise C will be the completed model. But it won't be the next video we have on the channel. We have a couple cool things going on. The next video that we should have published is an unboxing video of the interior for the Galileo shuttle. That video should come out in just the next day or so, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you for following the channel. And a big thank you to Round 2 AMT for letting me look at these review copies. And I'll be back with other videos very soon.